This is Bowen reporting from Valencia News College Network. And today, I'm going to be covering Hurricane Idalia and how it has affected Florida. To get started, I want to make sure you all know what a hurricane is. A hurricane is when several thunderstorms start to grow in the same area over the ocean. These dark, towering thunderstorm clouds begin to rotate around an area of low atmospheric pressure called a tropical depression. This draws enough energy from the warmth of the tropical ocean to form a hurricane. But in order for these hurricanes to form, there needs to be warm ocean water and moist humid air in the region. When the humid air is flowing upward at a zone of low pressure over warm ocean water, the water is released from the air as creating the clouds of the storm. As it rises, the hurricane will rotate. However, due to the Coriolis effect, no hurricanes can form within 300 miles of the equator. And this is very important for determining where hurricanes will hit, where they can form, and what damage they can do. However, we will specifically be focusing on Hurricane Idalia and how it impacted Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. Hurricane Idalia all started as a tropical storm about 150 miles southeast of Cancun, Mexico on Sunday, August 22nd. Idalia then tracked almost due north for 2.5 days and strengthened to a major hurricane Tuesday night, early Wednesday. Idalia made landfall as a Category 3 hurricane by Canton Beach, Florida during the morning of August 30th. As it started to cross across northern Florida and southern Georgia, Hurricane Idalia became a tropical storm Idalia, but it continued to go up the east coast of America, impacting places like Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. The damages caused during Hurricane Idalia varied, but the damage was mainly located on coastal towns and towns closer to the inland that were directly over the eye of the storm. Now, typical things that were seen during Hurricane Idalia were storm surges. The surges reached a height of 7 to 12 feet above normal dry grounds. Numerous homes within the surge zone suffered significant damage or had water and debris marks on them. In this event, wave action was generally found to average around 3 feet on top of the peak storm surge. So you're looking at storm surges 10 to 15 feet high at certain points. Wind also played a prominent impact during Hurricane Idalia. Despite the heavy damages to trees and numerous structures in Taylor, Madison, and LaFontaine counties, winds could have been worse if it was not for the eye wall replacement cycle Idalia appeared to go through immediately prior to landfall. However, with that said, damage to the timber was still extensive and power outages across much of the Big Bend were at or near 100%. Damage continued up until Georgia, with the heaviest damage being centered around / along the path the eye wall moved through. While freshwater flooding from Idalia was not as widespread as we've seen during other tropical systems, this was mostly due to the relatively fast motion of Idalia. Around this time, this is when flooding impacts quickly intensified. In Valdosta, Georgia, there were many reports of water rescues and saturated soils in the heavy rain, which allowed trees to fall more easily. Thankfully, Hurricane Idalia was not as fatal as other hurricanes, such as Hurricane Ian. There were only 10 casualties reported, 4 of those being from Florida. Unfortunately, one of the victims who passed away was a man who was struck by a tree while cleaning hurricane debris. On top of this, Hurricane Idalia managed to cause $9 billion to $20 billion in costs of damages, which is an all-time high for hurricanes that happened in 2023. Because of this, the recovery for Hurricane Idalia meant many things. Along with the basics of rebuilding houses and destroyed properties, along with replanting trees, and cleaning up the roads. You need money for this, and because of this, President Biden called for a $4 billion in relief funding. Along with this, a small town in the Big Bend, Horseshoe Beach community. Not only did volunteers come in to help out Horseshoe Beach to its former glory, but emergency response personnel did as well. Workers from both the Fort Lauderdale and Miami-Dade County Community Emergency Response Team, or CERT, arrived in town this week to help. FEMA also helps Florida after the disaster. For those of you who don't know, FEMA stands for Federal Emergency Management Agency. FEMA was a big help in allowing Florida to rebuild and recover from Hurricane Idalia's flooding and wind. Now, although humans were affected by Hurricane Idalia, there was also an effect on the wildlife in the area. Due to Hurricane Idalia, at least 26,000 gallons of water spills, mostly raw sewage, were reported to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection as of Friday. Waterways under the storm's crosshair get stirred with human sewage gas and whatever else may have mixed with the storm surges. When waterways like that, especially, get infiltrated by untreated sewage, it can cause red tide, fueling nitrogen and other containments that can help bloom thrive in the right conditions. High volumes of sewage or gasoline dumps can cause fish and marine life death. Due to all these spills, many lakes, rivers, and other bodies of water suffered and were polluted, causing marine life death in the area. The biggest waterway spill that has been reported so far due to Hurricane Idalia was in Punta Gorda. However, with all this going on, us humans, FEMA, and other people in Florida have banded together, and we have managed to recover from this horrific event. Through teamwork, bravery, and community, Florida has been able to rebuild and recover from this due to funding from the government. And now, Florida has recovered from Hurricane Idalia, and most, if not all, has been returned to normal. This is Bowen from Valencia College News Network, signing off. Ba-na-na-na-na,